Alright, so for today, we're going to be learning the Pythagorean Theorem. So for the Pythagorean Theorem, we have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So if we want to use the Pythagorean Theorem, we have to have a right triangle. So for the right triangle, we have the lengths a, b, and c. So a and b are going to be the smaller sides, and then c is going to be the big side. And we call this big boy the hypotenuse. So like I said, a and b are the smaller sides, so what that means is that we can interchange them. So if we wanted to, we can make this a into a b, and we can make the b into a. But we'll just keep these little guys as they were. Alright, so now let's do an example problem. So let's say that a is equal to 4, and then let's say that b is equal to 7. And then let's say we want to solve for the long side c. So how do we do that? Well, we got to use the Pythagorean theorem now, right? So again, for the Pythagorean theorem, we have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So what do we got to do? We got to plug in a equals 4, and then we got to plug in b equals 7, and then we got to solve for c. So now let's do that process. So we plug in a equals 4 on the left, we have 4 squared. And then we plug in b equals 7 on the left, we have 7 squared. So we have 4 squared plus 7 squared. All right, so now this will be equal to c squared. All right, so now again, the goal is to solve for c. So now what we got to do? We got to simplify the left-hand side. So if we simplify left-hand side, we have 4 squared, which is 16. And then we have 7 squared, which is 49. So we have 16 plus 49 is equal to c squared. And then if we add the 16 and 49 together, we get 65. So 65 is equal to c squared. Now how the heck do we solve for c? Well, now we got to square root both sides to get rid of the square. So we'll square root on the left. And then we got to square root on the right. Because remember, whatever we do on the left-hand side, got to do the same thing on the right-hand side. All right, but now we got to remember, if we're square rooting the number on the left here, we got to add a plus and a minus symbol, because it could either be positive or it could be negative. So we got a plus and then a minus. All right, so now if we look on the right-hand side, the square and the square root will cancel out. So we'll just cancel out those bad boys. So I'll cancel out the square, and I'll cancel out this whole big square root. So I just have c on the right-hand side. So it's equal to c on the right, and the left I have this plus or minus square root of 65. But now if I look at the value for c, that's going to have to be positive because I can never have a negative length. So what I'll do is I'll just completely ignore the minus sign here and just use the positive sign. All right, so we have c is equal to the square root of 65. But now this won't give us a whole number, so what we'll do is we'll just take the square root of 65 on a calculator and round that bad boy off to 2 deci's. So if we do that, we have c is equal to the square root of 65, which rounds up to 8.06. All right, and that's the answer for c. So what that means is that the longest side of this right triangle is going to be 8.06.